All right, Jade, we've started recording. I'm going to grab a graph for you, and we're going to talk about Bitcoin today. Here is our first graph.
Sure. Looks busy with the hearts and the circles.
Jade, can you tell me what you think is happening? Let's ignore all the lines
Yeah.
and just look at what we call candles, the red and green bars. What are the candles doing?
Going up and down.
What are they doing most recently?
Sideways.
What are the last two candles doing?
Going down.
Yes. So do you know how the market feels today?
To be honest, I don't know.
So I don't need to update Jade on a lot of things because she knows the candles are just following the lines and we're calm and we're not worried about our balance and things. But if we check maybe the fear and greed index, that would be a good idea, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Fear, 27, because the market has gone down. Does the market go down a lot? No, not in the forms of Bitcoin on the weekly graph. Everyone's balances has gone down a lot, especially if they're holding altcoins. Now, this was already a prediction. It's been here since I started making the videos when we were somewhere up in this area. I don't know where we were.
Yes.
This line, we don't need to go down that far at all. We could stop higher up. But when you're looking at the graph from this perspective in a week, it looks very normal and not a lot of movement. Now, what happened was we broke this trend. We broke this trend. We went up. What happens after we break a trend, Jade?
We, I'm not actually.
She doesn't remember. We test. We go back and we test where we broke our trend. So we're coming down to test the trend. So the wick tested all the way down here when we broke, and the body is still up here. I would like to see the body to come down and test further. I would also like to see testing more of the market support band, which we also broke in this area. We're testing it now currently. The longer we test it, the better. That would be great.
In the higher, right?
No, not the where we tested is not relevant.
Okay.
Wherever the market support band will move as price changes.
Okay.
Now, when we start going up, we'll have to break another trend. So I'm going to move this blue line, which is old and not perfectly accurate. We'll put it here, okay? And we'll draw it like this. Now, this is only taking 2 candles into account for 2 weeks. We'll see where the next candles fall. We might change this. Now, if this line stays the same, when we pass over that line, we will have broken trend again. And again, when we break trend, we have to test. So we'll test that trend, come back down and hit here again. And then we will be ready to move forward and up, okay? So when we move forward and up, we will be following our new trend, similar to this one, but it is now going to be from a test, not a retest, just a test. So the test, I would expect to move further up than the previous break of trend, because this is a break of trend. Tests go further up. So the test should go further up, probably to this big blue one. And then it'll come down and to this line and do what? What's after the test?
It's gonna bounce.
Bounce, it's called a retest. It'll bounce and the bull market will begin.
Okay, so it bounces. Okay, it goes into.
So we break a trend, test, and retest. Now, a lot of the people you watch on YouTube know this, and they do it on 4-hour time frames, 1-hour time frames when they're trading with alts, but they don't do it on the weekly time frame with anything. And for Bitcoin, the weekly time frame is far more relevant if you're trying to assume what the whole market cycle will do. Now I'm going to go through a few other graphs and explain a few more things. This here, we have 2017. And 2017 was the start of another bull run. And you can see here was an old peak from the previous market, which is 2013. We hit the old peak and we had a bear trap. We got a little bit over the old peak and we had a bear trap. Now these came back and tested the market support band. That's great. Here was another one, tested the market support band, bear trap. This is on the daily, these are daily candles. So as soon as we broke out, this is kind of where we are now. We're moving along the bottom of the market support band, okay? We had some of this, we were up here, it was nice. We came down and we're testing the market support band. And I would expect more of these. and more of these. And the first one I would expect to come will be at our peak from our previous local top of around 58 to 64K, probably on the lower side. If we go down a little further, we can look at the previous bull market. And we see the same thing. Now, the last time we looked at this, we looked at it on the weekly time frame. We can look at it in the daily time frame and examine it a little more closely. Now, what did we have? This was in 2013. So we broke our support band like we've done now. Came down. They had another little crash. 130 to 116. Only about 10%. I don't know what Bitcoin's gone down, but we're going to go down as we go up. So it came down and then it did a lot of sideways. So it wasn't on the market support band this time, but it still did a lot of sideways. Now we're going to expect to do some sideways at our peaks and at our bottoms, and then go quickly in a direction. So this time it went straight down. Now you can see 2013 in days. This was, it was only a few days. Look at that. 2 days. Once was the bear trap, and then we came back and tested the market support band again. Great. And off we went. We're still above the market support band at the moment, so we're in great position. Yeah?
Yeah.
Now we can slide back a little bit further to the next one. So this started in 2013. We were looking at the one in the middle. So it started in 2013. We'll look at it again. Guys, I know all these things look exactly the same as what we're going to expect now. So we had a great little run up. This is still before it started. Came straight down, big bear trap, bounced, lots of sideways, came down and tested the market support band, and off we went sideways again until whoosh. Now, we've looked at this graph already. I'm going to move over to this graph. Now we'll go back to this one. Okay, so here I've put in what I consider to be very accurate lines, both based on time and on price. Normally, I don't put time and price together. I leave time out of it. Jade, can you see any reason why you think time might be accurate there?
No.
Okay, well, I'll tell you. So what happens? We went up and we came down. Now we're going to test. We test, we're going to have more speed. So I would expect this section to be at a faster speed than this section. That's all. So this would have, if it went all the way down like this, would have been here. So I've reduced the size just by about a third. And I've given us options, like we could end up in any one of these here. It will be based on how low we go. The further down we go, the faster we'll go up. But remember, I'm not going to be counting these wicks. So right now, we're only on the orange line, which is the longest way, because we're still really just going sideways. This hasn't been a lot of down. I know everyone's like, oh, my balance. We just went down a little bit. 2 weeks of red candles. Look at all these green candles. We should all have lots of money by now. So if we go down further, that's better. We can get to somewhere near the blue line and we'll be faster to go up. If we were to go up now, it would be the slowest way to go. We'll see what we do. I would expect a lot of sideways movement, but down is certainly possible. This candle is larger than this one. So when the candle is larger, you can assume that the next candle will be the same. Now, everything doesn't always work like that, but it's a good assumption. Much like you see when candles are getting smaller, they continue to get smaller until you have this kind of a candle, which is called a doji. And then you don't know what's going to happen because it's barely a candle. You can't really tell. Over here, not so much of a candle. That would have been a great time to sell. Oh, look, this was our peak. This week was our highest peak. We had a doji. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a doji at our bottom, but we could turn around and get a green candle the same size as this and just go sideways. Now I want to check up on Bitcoin. I think I've added some other indicators on similar graphs. Okay, so this is a very similar concept in the last graph.
Oh, that was the one that we were looking at yesterday.
Yeah, I showed you this one. So these are just some more ideas of how we would get to the bull market, because we need a lot of bounces.
Yeah.
We need to go down. We can't just go up. So we can go up and get bounces, up and get bounces, up and get bounces. And the blue line, or at least the way down, will be the fastest. I think I have the green line getting there first, but the blue line will be it depends on how big the bounces are after that. But the further we go down, the better bounce we'll get and the higher we'll go. And remember, this is only a test. So we need a test and a retest, break of trend, test, and a retest somewhere over here when we come back down. And then we're off to the races. Now, I've added in some Bollinger Bands. So these are more options. And the yellow line, and all of the options come straight down. And we bounce back up. Don't you worry. As long as the bull market continues, there's always a possibility that we go into a bear market. It's not something I've looked at to show you. I've studied the graph a lot. I've drawn out the graph for a bear market. I'm afraid it's pretty simple. It just looks like this one, but this doesn't stop. It just keeps on going. But we have way too much support. We would have to lose the bull market support band for a long time. I would think 6 months for me to be making that a consideration. Now here I put in some Bollinger Bands. Let me see, are they on the right setting I like? Keltner channels, not Bollinger Bands, Keltner channels. I think the Keltner channels might be better on another graph. Let me see. Ah, yes, this is the one I wanted to see. Oh yeah, that was the one I meant to go to. Now, these lines on the Keltner channels also work just as well as all other lines. So there's 3 lines, and this is the one, this is called the mean. Now that's also holding us up as support too. That's great. Now it generally points us in what direction we're going. What direction does it look like we're gonna go, Jade?
Yeah.
Sideways. You see the way it's straightened here. The top blue line and the bottom blue line have pretty much had turned to going up here, and now they're turning to go sideways again. So a lot of sideways for at least this period of time before we break our trend again, test, and then go. So this is a test of this trend, but now we break this trend coming down here and have to test again, and then we go. There are Keltner channels. Over here, I may have put in another. Now this is just our old ones, the bull market support band and the clouds. We can look at those as well with further detail. So a lot of people will have been looking on the shorter time frames, including myself. And on the day graph, what happened was we went into the cloud and collapsed down to the bottom. I'll show you that now in a minute. But here on the day graph, we're holding the cloud nicely and we're holding the bull market support band nicely. So, and if we were to get a full candle opening here, I would be worried. But when we're above that, bouncing around above that, everything looks rosy. No problems at all. Finally, let's see. I added in the whole average again for you. And remember, I will not pay for trading view. My money goes on the blockchain. So here we have the whole average. Now, and I use 104, the whole mean average. Purple line coming up nicely. We failed at it. And I have any possible lines failing at it again. This will turn up as soon as we start to move price up. And I would expect it to move up very similarly to this. And I would expect us probably not to break it until after we have our retest. Break of trend, test, retest. I think maybe the last few graphs are just the same. For today. Excellent. Very good, everybody. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye, everyone. Have a good day.
Goodbye, everybody. And remember, Jade, they can still hear us talking because we haven't finished the video. And